Hello everyone, this is part 17 of What If Naruto was exiled after he brought Sasuke back, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Sunagakur. The group stood in the Kazekige's office. Naruto was scratching the back of his N and smiling, his 9 tails wagging behind him, each a different way. He. Uzumaki. Gaara said and stopped as the blonde hugged him. Heard US. The blonde said, releasing him. How? Felt it. Naruto said, looking at the eyes of his fellow Jinchuriki. Former, he no longer holds Shukaku. Naruto mentally corrected himself. You've changed. Gaara said. And not just physically. Naruto shrugged and was going to respond when the door banged open and Hinata tore into the room. She stopped seeing Naruto, her eyes wide. NNNA. I thought we got past that on the dreamscape, Hinata-chan. Naruto said and found himself being hugged tightly by Hinata. His arms went around her as did his tails, like a protective cocoon of blonde fur. Looks like he's become someone's personal plushie. Stow it, Micah. Naruto said, looking over his shoulder and seeing his brother in all but blood being whacked by Nami on the shoulder. Naruto turned back to see a wide-eyed Kakashi with Team 9 looking at him. Hey Kakashi, Neji, Lee, Tenten, he said to each of the Konoha nins entering the door. En Naruto, you, Kakashi was stumped. He'd known he'd see Naruto again, but he never thought the blonde would be sporting 9 foxtails. What happened? I grew up, Naruto said softly. He looked down and saw Hinata still wouldn't let go, her face was buried in his chest. Is she smelling me? He thought. Naruto-kun, you burn bright with the sunshine of youth, Yosh. Naruto grinned. Looking good, bushy brow. I see Tenten finally got you out of those tights. Nightly, Neji said with a smirk as his life partners blushed. And you have a sense of humor. How'd that happen? Naruto fired back. Hinata, Neji said. Naruto looked down and saw her look up at him slightly before burrowing herself against him tighter, her arms locking around his waist. You wiped him out, Kankuro said, entering the office. You wasted all our time in one moment. Not really, Naruto said. That was the first wave. There's another group the same size and then the main army still coming. You saw them? Gaara asked, looking at the map. Where? Micah looked at the map and pointed out the 2 locations. They're 2,000 feet ahead of the main army, here, or they were when we last saw them. The others looked at the map. Our plan can still hold, Neji said. Actually, Nami said, how about we take out that next advance group and then do whatever you have planned? It would be more effective, Kakashi said, his eyes still looking at Naruto. Hey, you got tails, Kankuro said, finally noticing the fur-covered appendages. And you're still playing in Temari's makeup kit. Naruto fired back. It's not makeup. It's war paint. Others in the room chuckled. Dude, it's makeup, Micah said. Who the hell are you, and why is your arm wrapped up? Micah looked at Naruto. I trust them. Kakashi looked down at that. Even now, gods, sensei, I really fed up my life, yet he still is willing to give me a chance to know what's going on, and here I'm being suspicious about him and his changes. Micah nodded, smirked to Gaara. I'm Mikahamaru Melwasu. I'm a dragon Hanyu, and Naruto considers me his brother in all but blood, and I him. He unwrapped part of his forearm showing the silver scales. As for the wrapping, well, this just started, and I figured it best to have some surprises. He said with a shrug. Naruto made the introductions and looked down, seeing Hinata still hadn't let go. And this is Hinata Haim. Micah got a smirk on his face, but saw the look and Naruto's eyes let go whatever he was about to say. So, we have the snake in the team coming here. He looked at Micah. I feel special. The others, not sure what to say, looked at the blonde. Kami's giving us a welcome home present, shame if we don't give them a proper thank you. Micah said. I've got an idea, Naruto said. No. Naruto looked at the pale eyes he'd thought about since the dreamscape, and times before that. Hinata-chan, I'm not letting you out of my sight, Naruto Uzumaki, she said, stamping her foot. They were in a room down the hall from the Kazekige's office. She'd grabbed him by his ear when he'd suggested his plan and she'd growled to the others they would be back. You just got back, and you want to go alone to fight an army. She said looking at him. He could see feet in her eyes. Not fear of him or his appearance, but of the thought of losing him now that he was here. I won't be alone. Micah and Gaara, Naruto started to say, but Hinata stomped his foot and he howled in pain. Stop trying to be the hero. Hinata. No. I just got you here. I can't lose you. Please, stick with the original plan. Naruto sighed. But if we can stop the advance guard and see what the army is like. You could This is a mission. Hinata said. You, Gaara and Mikahamaru go out alone with no other guards. We have the best chance for success. Naruto said trying to keep calm. Yelling wouldn't do anything except probably get him a Juken-powered slap. Hina-chan. He said taking her slender hands in his claw-tipped ones. Micah's wind control, my raw power and Gaara's sand control, we can stop the advance guard long before they get in range of the walls. If we use some tactics Micah and I learned on our journeys, we can cause havoc with the army. We could do that on the retreat from Suna. Hinata said. We have surprise right now. We'll lose that once they pass Suna. Naruto countered. Hinata saw she wouldn't be able to change his mind. She lunged and hugged him again. Then let me go with you. She said. Naruto was at a loss how to handle this. He knew she was strong. But his protective streak was screaming at him to deny her this. Kami, what do I do? Miles away. Danzo. Orochimaru said. Hi. The route leader said stepping up. Split our forces. Half to Suna with the advance guard. We're going through wave. I think a pincer attack on Konoha will be better now that I think about it. Danzo looked at the snake Sannin. And Danzo, you will lead the assault on Suna. Orochimaru stepped away. Sasuke, Sakura, with me. The pair followed and Danzo tightened his fist. Prepare the forces. He ordered to a nearby nin. Iwa, Kumo en route to Suna. Kemuri, Kiri and Oto with Lord Orochimaru. As the messengers went out to divide the forces, Danzo had a bad feeling about this. He looked around. Sigh. Sunagakur. Itachi sighed. Spy reports that the army is dividing. The others looked at him. Where? Kakashi asked. Orochimaru is leading one half away, the going through wave. Nami and Micah exchanged looks. Wave. They're defenseless. Micah said. Farmers and merchants. Nami agreed. Micah looked at the board with the map. And Konoha won't be looking in that direction. That bridge, he looked at Nami. This just got more complicated. Neji said. We need to send a warning to Konoha. Kakashi said. Itachi nodded. I sent a raven already, once the spy sent me the warning. But what about the people of Wave? Tenten asked. They'll be said. Micah looked at it. I can delay them. He said. No. Nami said. Not by yourself. I have to go alone. Alone where? Naruto returned with Hinata, his arm around her shoulders. Micah explained the situation to the nine-tailed blonde. Damn it, he growled. He still has a large enough army to make Konoha burn to the ground. Itachi said and Naruto jumped not realizing he was in the room. Hello Naruto-kun. Finally figured out your legacy I see. Itachi said. Hey Itachi, decided to come home I see. Naruto said. Itachi bowed his head. When we have time, we must talk. Yeah, in time. Naruto muttered. His gaze went back to Micah. Are you sure you can delay them? No, he can't. Nami said. Yes, I can. Even if I have to bring the bridge down to do it. They'll either need to go back around, or they'll need to make boats to cross then. Naruto said looking at the map. Naruto. Gaara asked. We need to do this. He said. Gaara and Naruto shared a look. The Kazekage nodded. Uzumaki and I will lead a small detachment out to take the advance guard and lead the other force in. The rest will prepare for the follow-up of the plan. I'll be heading to Wave. Micah said. He looked at Nami. I need to go alone, it's the only way I'll get ahead of them. He said seeing her green eyes looking at him unhappily. Delay only. Naruto said. I want to see you in Konoha. Micah smiled. Hey, it's me. He said with a grin that mirrored Naruto's own. Micah then turned his eyes on Hinata. Lady Hinata, look after him please. He's all I have in family. She nodded. You take care as well Micah-kun. You are precious to Naruto, and that means you're precious to me. She said. Micah was nearly to the door when Nami stopped him. I have to go. She gripped his arm. Lucipal do sa. Come back to me, she said softly, her eyes trying to convey what she was trying to say. Micah seemed to understand. I'll see you in Konoha, he said. Nami did something then that surprised not only herself and Micah, but the others as she grabbed him and kissed him. When she pulled back, she looked at him. Stay safe. He nodded and was out the door. Can he do what he says? Kakashi asked. Yeah, he can, Naruto said, watching the door. Shaking his head, he looked at the others. Now, let's get ready. Naruto, Gaara, Nami, Hinata, Itachi, Kakashi, Lee, Tenten and Neji slipped over the dunes. They'd all changed into Suna camouflage that allowed them to blend in with the sand dunes. Kankuro had been left in charge of the defenses as Gaara refused to stay safe behind the wall while his first friend went out to danger. All of them wore hoods and masks, along with goggles. The only differences were noticeable was Gaara's gourd, Naruto's tails and positions of weapons and pouches. Naruto reached out with his vulnerable senses and could pinpoint the invading nins. He could tell they were setting camp, the hot sun unforgiving on a marching army. Naruto paused. They've stopped, he said, and the others looked at him strangely. He looked at Gaara. They're over the next ridge, he said. The Kazekage nodded. They moved on and they crawled up the next dune, keeping low. Kakashi used a polished kunai to peek over the edge of the dune. They set up camp, it seems. They're posting sentries, just around the camp. Naruto sighed. We need to hit them fast and hard. Can you do that attack that Micah did? Nami asked, opening the quiver on her back and getting her bow ready. No, Micah's been the only one to get it down. Naruto closed his eyes. How did Micah do that anyways? Kakashi asked. I've never seen anything like it before. The Kamehameha is originally a key attack. He learned it while we were in the Underverse from a fighter by the name of Goku. It took him a while to learn how to alter it, and the only reason I think he's been able to do it is cause he mixes his chakra with his wind. Kakashi nodded. Haven't you seen if you have an affinity? No, mainly cause I can use every element because of the Kyuubi's chakra. I'm not sure what happened after the merger, but I feel a bit different. You mentioned earlier during the briefing that the Kyuubi is in spirit form. Where is he? Neji asked. We left him behind to reach sooner as he was incorporeal. Micah might pass him on his way to Wave, it depends if he's flying high. Truly Micah-kun's fires of youth must burn brightly to be able to fly. Lee said. Naruto was glad that Neji and Tenten had gotten him to calm down over the last couple of years. Hell, nearly didn't recognize him with his hair and clothes different. Naruto thought. I have an attack that might work. Gaara said. But I am uncertain if it will work without Shukaku's influence. Naruto put a hand on his friend's shoulder. Try what you can. The blonde nine-tail looked at the others. How much time will you need? Kakashi asked, preparing a pair of kunai. Gaara shrugged, uncertain. The sand trap will be difficult without Shukaku's influence. Many of my large-scale attacks take more out of me than before. Lee nodded, remembering several years back when Gaara buried the sound nin and how winded he'd been after. I hate to be the negative voice, Tenten said, but we don't know how far back the main force is. Tenten said, we could be left wide open. Kakashi sighed. She's right. To borrow a phrase, this is troublesome. Naruto said, which got a chuckle from the others. We should try and find out where the other half of the army is. Neji said. So, what do you suggest? We pull back and we'll split up. A scout looks for and ascertains the location of the larger force. Once that happens, we'll send word back and design a plan from that. Neji said. I'll go. Kakashi said. I can move faster. Itachi looked at the old genin. Are you certain? Hi. I can use my summons to send a message back. Kakashi said, spinning the kunai in his hands back into their pouches. One scout is better than weakening our recon force even more. Naruto wanted to say something, but he was outside the chain of command. The others were right. They couldn't really attack without knowing where the other force was and how much time they had. He watched as Kakashi vanished against the dunes, the Suna cloaks making him blend in perfectly. Naruto and the others pulled back another dune. They stayed down near the top so they could see someone coming. Hinata leaned against him. He inhaled her scent and closed his eyes. feeling relaxed more than ever being back next to her. His eyes closed as he felt her holding one of his tails in her slender hands and was stroking it. Gah, does she know what she's doing to me? Naruto thought and heard her soft giggle as another tail lightly smacked her. Quit it, Naruto said. But they're so cute, Hinata said softly while continuing her ministrations on the tail in her hands. Hinata, Naruto growled. You keep that up and it will be something very embarrassing, and it's not something I want your cousin or the others to see. Hinata stopped and looked up at him. You mean that, Naruto-kun? She asked, her voice soft, barely a whisper, but his hearing picked it up with ease. With all my heart. Hinata was leaning in and about to kiss him when someone cleared AT. Both turned to see Neji. Not the place for making out, he whispered, and Naruto saw a smirk on the usually stoic Hyuga's face. Hinata glared. You mean like what you and Tenten were doing on patrol of the wall last night? Neji blinked. Or what I caught you and Lee doing the day before when you were supposed to be guarding the west gate. Naruto snorted seeing Neji blush. Or how about the little thing with the three of you in the closet the day before when? I yield, Neji said, cutting his cousin off. I'll guarantee you two alone time when we're not in the middle of an operation. Neji whispered. Done, Hinata said and smiled up at Naruto. I missed something, the blonde nine-tail said. Just getting us some alone time for later. Hinata admitted. I have so much blackmail material on Neji Neeson. She wagged a finger at her cousin. Someone's been very naughty. Neji actually blushed. Tenten slipped between them and kissed her boyfriend, then looked at Hinata. Is he giving you a hard time again? Yes, Hinata said. Tenten turned and glared at him. You leave her alone. If she wants to take Foxboy here for a romp in the sand, leave them alone. They could get loud. All four turned to see Itachi kneeling there. Lee was behind him grinning. Like you, Ten-chan. Naruto laughed into Hinata's shoulder. Who knew when I suggested you three get together you'd change? We tend to rub off on one another. Tenten said. Neji's muttered, off, against, same thing. Was heard and everyone was forced to swallow their laughter, even Itachi smiled at that. You know, if the main force is too close we'll need to pull back to sooner and delay them till the main force arrives. Naruto said. The plan is still sound with a few alterations. Gaara said, his tone level, his eyes on the dunes. Nami was looking off to the distance towards Wave. Naruto could feel her concern and fear through the Vunla. He'll be okay, Nami, Naruto said to the lavender-haired archer. Mikohamaru is strong, and with what we've learned over the last few years, he'll be fine. Green Eyes turned and looked at the nine-tailed youth. I'd be more secure in that if he hadn't been of his Vunla abilities, and he wasn't going through a transformation. She said. Naruto silently agreed, he'll be fine. When he lost his blood manipulation Kekkei Genkai his wind powers increased. And they did it again while we were training in Wave after he woke up. He'll be fine. Or this will be the shortest defense of all time. Naruto thought, silently worried about his silver-haired brother. He's not only got Sasuke and Sakura to worry about, but Orochimaru and whatever else crawled out of his labs. Konoha, Squad 16, Fire Jutsu, S. Anko roared as she sent a snake barreling into the crowd of insurgents. Anbu squads were battling the traitors, many civilians and traitorous Chunin and Junin were S. Anko. She turned to see Yugito land next to her. The Harunos got over the wall before we could get to them. We lost them in the underbrush. Anko cursed. Get a couple of Inazukas on the trail. Kurenai and Asuma stepped up. We'll go with them if you got it here, the Genjutsu mistress said to her longtime friend. Go. Asuma gathered his team. Ino, Shika, Cho, let's go. The Junin instructor said to his team. They'd stayed together even after being promoted. Anko watched them go and shook her head before using her snake hand attack to KO a civilian who was covered in explosive tags. Her attack sent him back into his comrades and the explosion wiped out nearly 40 civilians. She turned and looked around. Squad 20, contain those fires. Water jutsus now. Anko sighed, K the insurgents, but keep the damage down. Contradicting orders. She muttered, leaping into battle with a drawn kunai, her laugh chilling many of the civilians who were now wondering what they'd been doing, and if it was too late to surrender and beg for mercy. Hana and Kib moved ahead as Team 10 followed them. That's it, Akamaru, get those traitors, Kiba said to his partner who was now the size of a bear. Hana's 3 dogs were in the lead. She was about to head out to secure the retreat route when Yugito came and told her what was needed and why. Yugito and her Anbu team were in the trees following them. They'd been ordered to track and kill the traitorous clan, and they would not fail. They entered a thinner area and barely avoided the hail of kunai that would have turned them into pincushions. A Haruno team yelled, throwing a kunai with exploding tags at them. It missed as they scattered, but the pursuers found that they were now the hunted as nearly 30 Harunos came out of the trees. Jashin will allow me the honor of removing your stains from existence. A figure wearing the black cloak with red clouds on it. Hidden Sama, we can deal with these trash. A Haruno elder says. Flee you fools. Another cloaked figure said. Kakazu Sama. Another Haruno said. Akatsuki. Asuma said, pulling his trench knives. Team 10, Pattern Sigma 9. He barked. All hell broke loose. Micah blasted through the air. He could feel the wind surround him, embrace him, make him feel a part of it. He'd passed over Orochimaru's forces and thought about attacking, but he was still winded, pun not intended, from using the Kamehameha attack. I can make it to wave and start them evacuating. And while they're doing that I can rig traps to slow the army. Micah thought. Despite his earlier bravado, he was certain of 2 things. He would be able to slow the army for a brief period. He wouldn't last long against the heavy hitters in the army, no matter how much control of the wind he'd gotten recently. He wasn't arrogant to think he was immortal or a super being, just a better built one. Micah checked his pockets and found 3 senzu beans. I'll take one when I reach wave. Keep the other 2 as backup. He thought. The Hanzo sword on his back felt warm, as if it was thrilled with the coming battle. Micah knew the sword held a partial sentience. He'd known it since he'd first touched it. And I think it is why I couldn't become a Zet. I bonded with the sword in some way, it's how I know about its defense mechanism. Micah thought. His mind turned to Nami, the kiss she'd given him before he'd flown off. I've kissed and been kissed before, why is it she affects me so? Why is it since I first saw her? Shaking his head he concentrated on pushing himself faster. Wave, Tsunami, Inari, Tazuna. They are my priority right now. Unnoticed by Micah, the scales on his arm spread a bit further and his hair lengthened another inch. Amongst the dunes, so much sand. The Ester sands at least had rocks and some vegetation. Nami thought. She ignored the others as she checked her arrows, adding some of the explosive tags to the shafts like Micah had shown her. Micah. She paused, her gaze turning in the direction of Wave. Please Pamuja, beloved, come back to me. Since we've met, the bond snapped and I find myself drawn to you. Is it something from my grandfather's sword that created it? Or was it, as Muriel said, love at first sight? The lavender-haired girl didn't know what to think. Since her clan gave her to Micah she'd felt it was a blessing, and a curse. He was there, so close, and she was fighting the instincts of her people. When she'd mentioned the Ponfar back at Tazuna's house that night, she didn't mention that she was feeling it as well. The bond between Micah and I is causing me to feel different. I want to please my mate. The word mate froze her thought process. Kami, when did you okay, Nami? Naruto asked from where he was huddled with Hinata hugging him. The pair had taken the time to sit and talk quietly. Was partially asleep, her eyes lidded, and she snuggled into her life-size plush toy, her hands holding onto one of Naruto's tails like a security blanket. I'm fine, Nami said shortly, her eyes once more searching towards Wave. He'll be fine. Naruto knowing what she was looking for. I'll kick his ass otherwise. Nami looked at the blonde fox Hanyu, and then I would shoot you, and your mate there would kill me. Naruto nodded. And that wouldn't do at all. No it wouldn't, Kit. Naruto and Nami and the others jumped out of their skins as Kyuubi rose from the sand like in Desert Mirage. Don't do that. Naruto in a loud whisper while glaring at the shade, his 9 tails all puffed up. Naruto? Neji asked. With one more glare at the shade, Naruto looked at the others. This is Kyuubi no Kitsune, now called Master Q, and or Fuzzy Butt Pain. I'm wounded, Kit. Not yet, you aren't. What the hell kept you? Contrary to what you think, it is difficult to make time over the desert and avoid patrols. Your former sensei ked one group, he's on his way this way now. Patrols? Neji asked. Right. 3 groups of 3. One group sadly fell into quicksand as they weren't paying attention to what they were doing. The other one is between the main army and this group. The third is the one Hatake ked. Neji looked at the others. Did Kakashi see you? Neji asked. The others, while they'd been informed of the Kyuubi, seeing him, or more to the point of seeing through him, was a tad unnerving. Lee was putting a hand in the Kyuubi's back and pulling it back. Quit that. Most strange. You're not there, yet reaching into you produces a chill. Lee said, looking at his hand and back to the Kyuubi. And no, Hyuga, Hatake did not see me. I've been running underground. It's what's taken me this long to get here. I heard Naruto's voice and showed up here instead of sooner. Naruto looked at the Shade, who was now looking at Hinata, as Naruto's arm was around her waist along with a tail. So you've snagged a hottie, hey Kit. Ero Kitsune. Naruto hissed, but his hand stayed around Hinata's waist. Kyuubi. Hinata said, and her eyes bled to black. Naruto stepped back. This was the first time he'd ever seen her in her Jarkin state, and her hair now black as night and her skin pale as snow stood before the Shade. I should destroy you here and now for the pain and suffering you put Naruto through all these years. Hinata's sub-zero voice caused the Konoha nin to back off and Gaara to look up from where he'd been meditating. You sound almost like Shukaku. The Kazekage said in his tone of voice that showed interest. Kyuubi snorted. Please. Hinata's better than he ever was, more scary too. He looked at her. So, the old soul finally steps up to the plate. Do not tempt me, Kyuubi. Hinata said in her dark voice. Both of you stop it. Naruto said, stepping between the two. He slipped a tail around Hinata's waist. I forgave him, Hinata Haim. Please. At Naruto's touch and voice, Hinata allowed herself to revert to normal and relax into his arms. Her eyes locked on the Kyuubi. He may have forgiven you, but I won't forget. Kyuubi nodded. And Q, I must ask, you keep switching Shukaku's gender. What the hell? Naruto asked after a moment of thought. Yes, mother, Shukaku seemed to alternate in my mind. Gaara said. Kyuubi smirked. Kit, the damn desert rat is a hermaphrodite. All those there save Gaara, and Hinata face plant into the sand at that. Gaara growls. Ooh. Best be careful picking on Gaara here, he has his, her, its mood swings. Sand rose up trying to crush the Shade, but just passed through him and Gaara growled and turned his back on the former Fox Lord. Hermaphrodite. Yeah, Kit. Shukaku had both sets. It's one of the reasons she was so irritable all the time. It was that time of the month, or male pride kicking in. The women in the group growled at the Kitsune Lord who gave their threats the attention he thought they were due. He ignored them. Now, can you lot? Kakashi reappeared, landing right in Kyuubi. Both the fox and the nin shuddered at the feeling. Q floated away and Kakashi stood there shivering for another minute. I think he slimed me. The silver-haired genin said, shivering at the feeling of landing full body in the Shade. Probably did. Naruto remembered his few interactions with Master Q, and the Shade would hide in his body. Kakashi blinked his eyes and looked at the Shade. Kyuubi, I would assume. Assume nothing, Hatake. You know what they say about assuming anything. Q said. It's the mother of all F-ups. Neji said from where he was standing, and the others all looked at him. Tenten patted his arm. That too. Q said. Itachi sighed. We're off track. Report Kakashi. Itachi said in a command voice he had when he lead Anbu squads. The main group has set up camp. A runner is carrying orders for the other groups to hold till nightfall. How do you know? Nami asked. Kakashi did his famous U-shaped eye smile. Because I ked the messenger and read the orders. Danzo is devising a plan. He didn't approve of Orochimaru splitting their forces. Neji snorted. Considering it's been nearly 20 years since Danzo actually partook in combat. Danzo has a new arm. Looks like Orochimaru's labs are still operating. Kakashi said. No surprise there. Itachi said. He's always played with alchemy and other sciences. Look at nearly every Otonin we've ever ked. They all have been experimented on. Naruto nodded. Same with bandits we ran into years ago. They said they were failed experiments, but they still served him in rice. Kakashi remembered that was a mission Jiraiya had taken Sakura and Naruto on while gathering intelligence on Orochimaru's location. So, what do we do now? Lee asked, bouncing from foot to foot like an excited child on Christmas morning. Hit them hard and fast. Q said. Kit goes in first with his shadow clones and Mechadisciple swinging. Nami and Bun Girl here do their long distance thing. The rest of you follow in on a pincer maneuver. The others looked at the shade, who looked at them annoyed. What? I do have ideas on tactics. QB is right, Itachi said. Gaara uses his sand attacks to trap and K. Team 9 will come from the east, Kakashi, myself and Hinata will come in from the west. He looked at Naruto. Can you do this? Naruto gave him a huge grin. The others heard the unspoken, believe it. And the blonde just smiled his huge grin, and suddenly the small assault force nearly felt sorry for the unsuspecting enemy Nin. Get ready, we go in 5. Itachi said. Naruto turned and was half a step away before there was a tug on his tails. He turned right into a kiss from Hinata. So sweet, I think I'll develop cavities. Q muttered, watching the pair. Of course I'll never admit it out loud, but the kit's got good taste. The girl's got a nice ass and a great rack. QB looked around, he could have sworn something smacked him in the back of his head, but he found nothing and shrugged it off to seeing the young couple kissing. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.